good evening, and welcome to the Sound Off Show. My name is Linda Kirker. I host the program, and I thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a beautiful couple of days, a little bit on the warm side today, and I guess we have somewhat of a heat wave coming up over the next several days, but I guess we'll survive it all. We're used to flexibility in this state. I want to, first of all, bring to your attention, if you didn't hear this last week, I'm very proud to announce that there are going to be 2 Liberty camps for students in Vermont this summer. The first one will be in St. Albans, and that's for grades 6, 7, and 8, students in those grades. The event in St. Albans will be July 30th, 31st, and August 1st, which are Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, from 9 to 11:30 at the Church of the Rock in St. Albans. The church was nice enough to let us use a room, and we appreciate that. And what it's going to be about, this is for the students. Enjoy exploring the roots of American freedom, the early years of separation from Great Britain, the Declaration of Independence from Great Britain, the U.S. Constitution, and the Bill of Individual Rights. The presenter is Rob Roper, who is the president of the Ethan Allen Institute. I know he's going to do a great job. This year's, we had one Liberty Camp last year. This year's is going to be a little different format. It's going to be more interactive with the students' activities and things like that. So to register a student, you can call me at 527-7220. A parental permission slip is necessary for a student to attend, and we need to know what their grade level is. And so I suggest that you call me soon. The number of participants is limited, and the event is free. There'll be some advertising going on, but I thought this was a good opportunity to bring it to your attention. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for the students to learn about our country, which is something so critical for them to know, so that they can appreciate what they have in this unique land of ours. Okay, before I introduce my guest, I want to read this letter that I wrote. I sent it to the newspaper, but it didn't get printed, so I can share it this way. I'm grateful to live in the land of the free, a gift that was given to you and to me by the founding heroes who pledged their fortunes and their lives so that they and their ancestors could happily thrive with individual rights, freedoms, and opportunities galore. Now we wonder what our future holds and what is in store. We are faced with a similar fight to preserve and protect our precious rights and to teach American history to our youth to their delight. For they are the future defenders of all that makes America great. There is no room for divisiveness, bitterness, and hate. For united we stand, divided we fall. That's our fate. The questions we must ask are, will our Constitution be revered and respected? Do we have the will and the courage to stand up and fight, to preserve America's unique blessings with all of our might? Let there be light from above to guide us, and the love of God to strengthen us. May God bless America, our flag, our national anthem, and all who serve and strive to protect and honor them in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Okay,
I love that.
Oh, thank you. I don't know, I seem to like writing poems every now and then. Thank you.
I'd like to share that on my Facebook page.
Sure, you can do that. I'd be happy to have you share it. Okay, well, folks, my guest is Keith Stern, and Keith is a candidate for the governor, to be the governor of Vermont. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I appreciate the opportunity. And
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you once again.
Once before, huh? Many years ago.
8 years ago, I believe.
8 years ago. Boy, you have a good memory. A lot better than mine.
Not really.
Yeah, and I appreciate you driving 2.5 hours to get here. What a commitment. Thank
Yeah,
you so
well,
much.
I'm going to be up here again Thursday.
Wow.
Doing a meet and greet at the library.
Oh, that's right. A meet and greet with Keith Stern in St. Albans at the library Thursday.
Yeah, from 4 to 7. And if people keep showing up, we'll keep going.
Okay, so 4 to 7, you get to meet a candidate for governor at our very own library in St. Albans Thursday.
Yes.
This
And
Thursday.
Before then, I'll be walking downtown and walking around.
Going into
seeing
the businesses and
yes.
meeting people?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Great idea. And you have this handout, this card,
Yes.
and you'll be handing those out to the business owners, I
Yes.
presume?
Mm-hmm.
Good, good. That's the way to do it. I had to chuckle at your card because I love this statement. Get stern with your government. From Mr. Stern. That's great.
I wish I could take credit for it, but
Hey,
I still like it.
absolutely. You wouldn't have it on here if you didn't agree with it.
Right.
That's for sure. So why don't you, Keith, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, what area you live in, your background, and so forth.
Sure. I'm native born. I was born in Springfield, moved to North Springfield when I got married. I have a produce store in White River Junction. Been doing that for about 35 years now.
So you're a businessman.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'd say successful.
Good, good.
Still doing it. 3 mornings a week. I get up at a little after 12 and truck down to Boston to buy my produce.
You are kidding.
That's where I'll be tomorrow morning. I'll get home about 10:30 tonight, and then I'll be up at a little after 12 to do that.
Oh, my.
I'm committed to doing this. I'm
Well,
really committed.
Obviously.
Yes.
You wouldn't put in this kind of effort and time if you weren't committed to running.
Right.
For sure. Well, it's a big effort. As someone who's run for office before, I can attest to the fact that it requires a very big commitment of time,
does.
energy, effort, all of the above.
Right.
And so you have to really want to do something to commit to all of that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I just credit everybody that runs for office. Even if they're just doing it to get ideas out. I've done that in the past. Mm-hmm. And I didn't put in a lot of effort. I didn't do the meet and greets. But I was in the debates and got some articles written about me. Was on TV and radio. But I ran for Congress, didn't want to go to Washington. I have absolutely no interest in doing that.
I would like to go there.
It's a swamp.
I know it is.
Yeah.
I know.
But I wanted to be heard. I had ideas about taxes, tax reform, and about saving Social Security. So I got my ideas out there.
Oh,
But
Go ahead.
this is a whole different level. I mean, this is fixing Vermont, saving it from what's happening to the state.
We have a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
And some of the things that you have on your handout, which is kind of nifty, you say we need to reduce the size of government.
Oh,
You're talking
absolutely.
state government?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know how many, I did know at one time how many employees, the government is the biggest employer in the state.
We have more state employees than New Hampshire, even though they have about double the population.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. At the upper level, we have 66 more state employees than New Hampshire that make over $90,000 a year
In the top levels of government?
in Vermont government. And how do they justify these things? We have deputy commissioners, assistant secretaries. My opinion is we get rid of them. Have the commissioner, have the secretary, and then have somebody from the office that can step in, that's willing to step in with a bump and raise when the commissioner or secretary is not available.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I've often said that it would be a good idea to have an audit of the various departments. I hadn't thought in terms of the actual government structure itself. Would you believe that already we have a phone call?
Okay, hopefully.
Caller, what's on your mind?
See you next week.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Hi,
Yep.
Linda.
Hi.
You know, I'm glad you have him on TV tonight.
Thank
But
you.
my thought process is this: the thing that we need to be talking about in the state of Vermont for the new governor is reforming the education system. We're spending more money than we need. We have less students and spending thousands and thousands and millions of dollars. So every Republican out there, in my opinion, should be saying, if I'm elected, I'm going to correct what's going on in the educational department, because it's bankrupting the state. And the other thing I was going to talk to you about is, not tonight, but anyways, I can't believe that Hillary Clinton can't still get over the fact that she lost. And I'm saying that for my friend. I'm saying that for my friend David. She keeps bringing up the Electoral College, and if she studied her history, the reason why the Electoral College came about, all the 13 states who started, they were afraid of Virginia, who was the largest state around, that had more population than the rest of them. So we said, we want to have a chance. So when people say that the Electoral College is out of touch, over 200 years ago, there's a lot smarter people than you and me who figured it out. California, Pennsylvania, New York, and all these other states. Vermont has now less than 620,000 people here, and we would still get 3 electoral votes. If it was based on popularity, we'd be, you know what, the old word I'm saying is screwed.
We wouldn't get
Yeah, he's right.
we wouldn't even need to bother to vote.
That's right. Did you hear what Keith said? Don? Whoops. Did he? Oh, I guess he left us. Well, he makes a great point.
Right. And as far as education, that's going to be a priority. I want to gut the Agency of Education. It's a $10 million a year budget. It really isn't necessary.
The Agency of Education
Yes,
in our
yes,
government
yes,
has a $10 million
budget.
just for the governmental agency of
Right,
education.
yes.
Wow.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I'm sure, Vermont spends close to $20,000 a year on average, not for every student, but when you average up all the costs
Right.
of different students' needs, we're spending close to $20,000 a year. This little state.
Yeah, the highest in the country.
Well, it's one of the
Well,
few.
last I heard it was the highest.
Okay. Well, I know it's among the few highest, at least. And that is not acceptable.
No, absolutely not.
I believe an audit of the Department of Education and the Agency of Human Services need to have an audit.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. At one of my meet and greets, a retired state employee came in to see me, and he was telling me a lot of the agencies and departments are so top-heavy, they have more managers than they have workers. He
Wow.
said you walk into some of the offices, there's nobody there to answer phones, but the managers are sitting there
Wow. Well, you know, the people deserve fiscal accountability.
Absolutely.
And is that something that you, if you were elected, that you would focus on?
Well, that's what the auditor's supposed to be focusing on.
That's
I
true.
I don't know if he is or not.
Is the auditor still, what's his name? I can't recall it right now, but I know he did an audit a couple of years ago
Right.
of part of the Agency of Human Services, or tried to. And what happened is he couldn't do a proper audit because there were no specific guidelines for things to be accomplished, outcomes. He couldn't measure because the information wasn't there.
Yeah.
So where's the accountability?
Yeah. It's such a mess. I mean, this has to be straightened out. This is taxpayers' money. People are actually working for this money that they're wasting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see a lot of the waste. I went to the state auction. They auction off equipment and stuff. They had pallets of tires. They look like brand new tires. They're selling them off for maybe a quarter of what they were worth. The trucks, the big 6-wheel, 10-wheel dump trucks with a plow, these things only had just over 100,000 miles, and they were selling them off for cheap money. One guy was there, and I started talking with him. He said he used to be in the trucking business. He used to buy them. He said, "You take a look at any of these." He said, "You put 20 to 25,000 in to make it in perfect shape." He said, "You're still getting a steal on these things."
Why are they doing that?
Because there's no leadership anywhere along the line.
Wow. That's kind of scary.
It is.
If the equipment is in good shape
Yeah.
and it still has, you know, a lot of,
Yeah, you can see that some of it wasn't maintained properly, and that's another whole issue right there. But this is just the mentality, you know, replace it and buy new.
it's so easy to spend other people's money,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And we need people in government at all levels who have a respect for the hardworking people who are committed, forced to pay property taxes or income taxes or sales taxes, whatever.
Right.
They deserve some respect.
We should.
We do. We deserve
do.
some respect.
We all do.
And it's not just a pot of money to, you know, oh, here,
We're ATM machines for these people.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want fiscal accountability and responsibility.
And that's why I decided to run, one of the big reasons.
Well, I'm
Because
glad.
somebody's got to stand there and say,
Enough.
we're not going to waste money like this. We're just not going to do it anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if the auditor's hands are tied at all. Can he just, on his own, decide to audit a particular department of government or agency?
That I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to find that out. Does he have to go through hoops to be able to do that, or as his job, can he just say, I'll be auditing X or Y, you know?
Yeah, I assume that is his job to audit the different departments.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder how many audits are going on. I might call his office. Make a note. Linda, I have a lot of places in government I want to call.
Yeah?
I sent a few letters to the governor on various issues. Oh, you can better believe I did. Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have lately.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so reducing the size of government is one big thing,
Huge priority.
a huge thing, and then reducing the cost of living.
Right.
One of the things that, would you say, affects the cost of living is not only the high property taxes,
Right?
but, what's the word I want? when you're forced to do certain things, regulations, there we go.
Right, yeah, we're overregulated, definitely. For instance, my granddaughter's a hairdresser. She passed her license in New Hampshire. There's another test they require in Vermont because you take and go through a certified program and then take a test in New Hampshire. It's still not good enough for the state of Vermont.
Really?
So she was doing a few hair styling jobs at home, and somebody reported her. So they came in and are gonna prosecute her, fine her. I'm not quite sure. I didn't hear the exact details, but she took a course, you know, the schooling,
Yeah.
passed the test, but for some reason that's not good enough for the state of Vermont.
Interesting. Well, the state of Vermont didn't get the money for it's a licensing thing. They're now forcing different types of entrepreneurs to be licensed today.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, that's one of the things. She needs to take another test, but she's been trying to get it, and they haven't offered the test.
What?
That's what she said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there are too many, you know, the state is always trying to find ways to make more money.
Right. Because they, heaven forbid, you cut spending. No, it's easier just to tax people more. Mm-hmm. It's incredible.
It really is.
It is.
And even the governor has said how many people, 2,000 people have fairly recently left the state of Vermont?
I hear it just about every day, somebody saying, I can't stay here anymore, I just can't do it.
I know. I know a lot of people who
Yeah.
are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Making long-term plans or, you know, a few years out.
Right.
You have to get ready
Yeah,
to do that.
And some people say as soon as I can sell my house, but of course, the market's so bad
Well, I
in some
thought the
places.
housing market was good.
In some areas.
Oh.
In Springfield, you can see houses for sale all over the
Is
place.
that right?
Oh, it's terrible there. Yeah, and one guy came to a meet and greet and he was saying, well, cost of living's not so bad. Price of houses are cheap. I asked him, you know why? He said, yeah, because everybody's leaving and nobody's moving in.
Sad.
Yeah,
Because it's a
absolutely.
beautiful state
Yes,
on the surface.
right.
But once you start digging into the costs and the regulations and, you know, all of those kinds of things, then it kind of colors your perception.
Absolutely,
Which
yeah.
is really sad.
It is.
It doesn't need to be that
I
way.
mean, we have to pay people $10,000 to move here, and then you can't work in the state. You got to work remotely. So
yeah,
the
well-
people that are looking, the businesses looking for help, well, too bad for you. We're going to pay them to work out of state.
Okay, I maybe misunderstood that. I thought they were going to be paid to work from home, but I thought they were coming to Vermont. They're not?
They're coming to Vermont, but working outside the state, remotely.
Oh, like from computers? They would be.
Computers, yes.
I see. Well, they'd still be located here,
Yeah, right,
but they'd be doing a job that they have out of state?
right.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So what is the big draw there? Who would want to do that?
People that want to live here, you know, for skiing and such, and they get $10,000 to live here for a couple of years. They're probably going to be gone right after that. Probably rent a place or something.
That doesn't sound like it lends stability.
No, it doesn't. It's not about stability with these people, though.
Okay. Let me see. Oh, one thing that I mentioned to you, Keith, before we were on air, is I spoke recently with a couple of candidates for the legislature
Right.
about submitting a bill that would officially make English the language of the state of Vermont.
Right.
32 states have done that.
Right. I would sign that in a heartbeat.
So would I if
Yes.
I,
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
position to do that.
It doesn't mean people have to speak English all the time, but that's
No,
Right.
but we want, it's part of our culture
Right.
as a nation.
Right.
And if people come here and they want to work, they should speak English.
Right. It costs us money because you have interpreters in schools, hospitals, government agencies. That's all costing us money.
And now, the government is printing ballots, voting ballots in several different languages in this country.
Yeah.
You know what? You want to vote?
Yeah,
Learn English. You got to be able to read the ballot,
A friend of mine down in Massachusetts went to take a driving test, the written test, and he failed it. I said, "How'd you fail that?" He said, "They gave it to us in French." Because
What?
there was Haitians taking the test, so they gave everybody the test in French. That's what he told me.
Well, I know that ballots are being printed in all kinds of languages, and that's a great cost.
Right.
And all of other kinds of government documents too that people need to read, they should be in English.
Right.
And that will
Yeah, why
encourage
not?
people to learn the language and
Right.
become assimilated into our culture.
That's what we need.
We don't need multilingualism. It's great if you can speak more than one language. I think that's
Right.
wonderful.
I absolutely agree. To be able to speak your native tongue, keep your culture alive and
Absolutely.
stuff.
In your home.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Speak with your family in your native language if you like, but when you're out in our communities and everything, or at a workplace, English is the language.
Right.
Okay, we're not going to beat that to death. Okay. About the Electoral College. I'm assuming that the viewers all understand why the Electoral College is so critically important.
I don't think they do, a lot of them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it, okay? Basically, what it means is that the larger states with the big populations, particularly the west coast of the country and the east coast of the country and a few states in the middle of the country, have huge populations.
Right.
And if the voting system were based just on how many votes an individual got,
Right.
then chances are the election would be how do I say this? The people in those bigger states
Right.
would have control of who wins.
The East Coast and the West Coast would.
And the
would
people
determine the election.
in the smaller states like Vermont wouldn't have a voice. Like you said,
Right.
we might as well not vote.
Right.
Because we wouldn't have enough votes to make a difference.
Right.
So the Electoral College gives us a certain number of electoral votes.
Right.
We have 3 in Vermont because
Right.
we have a small population. But, and other states have a number relative to their population.
Right.
But we all need to have a voice, don't we?
We do. That's the way the government was set up.
The founders understood
They
that.
understood very well
They
what they
were-
were doing.
Very perceptive about what might happen going forward as things change. Well, Virginia, as the caller said, was a state that had, and Pennsylvania, they had bigger populations. So they could decide who was going to win
Right.
for president or whatever.
Sure.
And the rest of the people in the other 10 colonies or whatever wouldn't have a voice.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
It's worked out well so far.
Yes, but there are those fighting against it.
because they're upset because their candidate didn't win.
Yes, what happened? What a question.
Yeah.
Let it go, girl. Move on. Get a
They
life.
can't do that.
Accept reality.
They just can't do that.
I mean, really, get a grip.
Yeah,
You know, you didn't win.
right.
So move on and do something constructive instead of,
Right. Go out and work for your candidate harder. Try
Yeah.
to find a better candidate.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. Will you have thoughts about the UVM Medical Center now having an abortion facility? A lot of people are very upset about that.
Yeah. I don't like that idea at all. I mean, I haven't really studied it, but somebody brought that up to me, and it doesn't seem right.
Well, no, I even wrote a letter to the one of the officials at the hospital, and I just said, you know, I proudly worked as an RN at the medical center years ago, and I always thought of the hospital proudly as a place for healing and life-saving.
Right.
And now when I hear that you're going to be taking the lives of infants, that is no thing to be done by a hospital.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't like it to be done anywhere, but they've gone way, I don't know why they're doing it. The only thing I can think of is a way to make money. I don't know.
I'm
I don't
sure
know who's
that's the only
paying.
reason.
Who's paying for the abortions?
Probably you and me.
Like everything else. Okay. Any particular issue you'd like to bring up that I haven't mentioned?
Okay, sure, absolutely.
Go for it.
I'd like to talk about making the legislature a weekend thing instead of during the week, so we can have working people, business owners, they can serve, instead of basically being retired people and trust fund babies.
True.
I know a few people, real good candidates, they said, it's going to really hurt us in the pocketbook, but we're going to run. But it shouldn't have to hurt these people to serve the state.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Actually, I was working when I decided to run.
Right,
And I went to the director of the place where I worked, and I told her that I was planning to run for the legislature, and I wanted her to know. And she was not fond of the idea,
right,
because I was quite productive in my work. And I said, well, I found out that there's something in the law that says that an employer would have to prove that you were indispensable to the company in order for them to have an effect on your running for the legislature. So I went in and I said, I guarantee you allow me to train somebody. At that time, I was an account executive for the American Red Cross blood program. I said, you allow me to train someone, and I will work on Saturday and Monday, because Monday the legislature doesn't meet.
right.
And she caved, and I did what I said I was going to do. And so where there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
And I can't remember. I lost some money during those years,
Yeah.
you know, but it was a commitment that I made
Right.
to my state and trying to make a difference.
Right, and I appreciate that you did that.
Well, I'm not looking for praise or,
Right, I
you know,
understand.
thanks or anything.
Nobody that does it is, but it's still appreciated.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. That's my story.
And you're sticking with it,
I'm
right?
sticking to it, right. So what about the issue of law enforcement working with immigration and customs?
Oh, absolutely, it should, yes. We do definitely, it should work in unison. I know a lot of states are fighting that, but no, it definitely should be a partnership.
Absolutely. I mean, they're all of them, whether it be your local police, your state police, your sheriffs, your ICE,
Right.
any other law enforcement agencies, they have their jobs for the purpose of protecting the citizens of our country.
Right.
And they
Absolutely.
have to work together.
Right. I
And
agree. Definitely.
there's a lot of problem with sanctuary cities.
And I was very upset when the governor said he wanted to make Vermont a sanctuary state.
Did he actually say that?
Somebody, I think it was a member of his administration that actually came out and said that he wanted that, but yes.
Well, we have Burlington and some other city. I don't know if it's Rutland or what it is, but
Rutland was going to. That's when the election came up, the mayor was replaced because he was working to make it a sanctuary state, city.
but I know
Yes.
Burlington is.
Yes.
And to me, that is a magnet for people to come here.
Right. And we can't even take care of the people we have in the state.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to bring in more people to take care of them. The homeless population.
We have quite a few former military who are out on the street.
Right. It's the
those
children that's really a crime. Children that are homeless. From what I heard, it's a pretty large number.
Really?
Yes,
Well, that's pretty sad.
it is.
Years ago.
Let's take care of our own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's what our government is about.
Right. It's supposed to be about, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really sad that anybody would be homeless.
Right. And we're going to work on that.
Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, another thing, I'm really concerned, like to have your thoughts on this, about how the heroin and, well, the marijuana bill. That's one of the things I wrote a letter to the governor about. Because I was in the legislature on the Health and Welfare Committee when the marijuana bill for health purposes, and I did my research. Zuckerman, what's his first name?
David.
David Zuckerman at the time was saying, he was in the legislature, and he was saying that marijuana would be helpful for this and that. And one of the things he said was an eye condition.
Glaucoma.
Glaucoma, thank you. And I had worked with some eye doctors, so I called one of them up. And I said, is there any data, is there any experiments or anything that have been done relative to marijuana being helpful for glaucoma? And he said, yes, there have been studies. He said, and it can help. However, you have to be so out of it, had smoking so much marijuana that you're like,
Right.
obliterated in a way.
Right. Well, now they have the oil. You can inhale.
They had Marinol in those days, the pill. But they don't want the pill.
Right.
They want to smoke.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, I'm worried about the young people.
I am too. I been sent information from Colorado on it. problems with psychosis brought on by pot in younger people. I'm not talking teenagers. I'm talking about in the early 20s. Yeah, late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, I had Aubrey Adams from Colorado on the show. She came all the way to Vermont.
I think she's one that sent me information.
Probably, yeah. She came on the show, and she went to speak to the governor. She didn't get much time with him,
Right.
but she wanted it to be made clear before the decision was made, before the vote was made, as to the damaging effects in Pueblo, Colorado.
Right, yeah.
The
Yeah,
children breathing in the fumes, in
Yeah.
the neighborhoods, and
Yeah.
the international drug dealers that came into the area. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Right.
And these poor kids, their brains are developing.
Right. Yep. Well, I'd have to say the fact that it's being smoked at all is, I'm against it personally. But I guess the worst thing for me about it, or one of the worst things, is every other state that legalized it let the voters decide. The voters had no say in it in Vermont.
Wonder why that is.
Because these people wanted to push it through. I mean, people say, well, it's all right as long as you're getting revenue from it. Well, we're not even getting that.
No, because that's not part of the bill yet.
Right. Oh, this
They're-
is the first step.
They're doing this in increments.
Right,
And that's the way they operate.
right.
Take away a little of your guns,
Right,
okay?
yep.
And take away a little of this and a little of that.
Absolutely.
And enforce this and enforce that until the first thing you know, you wake up and you say, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Right. Absolutely.
So that's why I keep saying to the viewers, I just plead, stay alert, learn, watch what's going on in this state and around the country. There are some really good things happening, but there are some horrible things happening at the same time.
Right.
And the only way that things will change in this country is if the average person pays attention, understands what's going on, and gets involved and has a voice.
Right. Just become an informed voter.
Yes, critically.
I get people, detractors, that say, oh, you're too quiet to be a governor. I stand on my principles, I won't let anybody railroad me through, push something past me. I'll stand strong for the people, but I have to be loud to be effective.
Well, you see, that's what's been happening in our culture.
Right.
All of these outbursts and anger and cruel comments,
Right.
disrespectful things, even from people in Congress. It turns my stomach.
Right.
Some of the things that are being said, and some of these groups that are going out to invade the privacy of people in government. Get a grip.
Yeah.
Get a life.
Right. Absolutely.
Gain some confidence, for heaven's sakes. These students on campuses, they're safe spaces? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
This is what this country is becoming.
Are they so insecure that if someone offends you by saying a word that, we can all be offended every day.
Right.
But you don't let it tear you apart, for heaven's sakes. You have to have some confidence in yourself.
Right. Absolutely.
Now, about you being quiet. It's just that you need to have a voice, and as many people as possible, you're a smart man, need to hear your voice and your views and what you stand for.
Right.
That, otherwise,
Right.
the chance of making progress
Right, absolutely. I
is-
mean, Calvin Coolidge, he was one of our best presidents, I think. They called him Silent Cal
I
for a reason.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yep, but he did the job.
he sure did.
Now, you opt out of Common Core and repeal Act 46 is on
Absolutely.
your card.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you happen to know, this is something I wanted to look into, but I have to have enough time. Oh, we have another caller. Caller, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, here's me again.
Okay. Hi.
I want to ask his question. I want to ask him a question about the Supreme Court's ruling today on the travel ban. What's he feel about that?
I agree with the Supreme Court, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a little. There's some sort of a problem with the sound.
What? Well, anyways, I'll get off the line so as other people can call in.
No,
But
Don.
I thought that was interesting what the Supreme Court did, and the number of people. Now, what concerns me the most is these protesters who are going to say we have all these checks and balances coming into this world, and now the protesters are going to say the Supreme Court justices are wrong on their finding. I just can't figure out where this country's coming from. But I'll get off again in case Dave wants to call in.
Wait, before you leave, are you there?
I left.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why don't you explain what exactly the Supreme Court did in their vote?
They lifted the travel ban on people coming in from about 7 different countries in here. We have the right to say they cannot come to our shores, which is what we're trying to do, is protect our borders. And
Yes.
we're starting from Mexico and in Texas and places like that where they can walk across. But now we're coming in by Iran, Iraq, and all these other countries where aren't friendly to us and want to harm us. And so the Supreme Court voted unanimously to not unanimous, but I think it was 5-7 or whatever it was, to say that Donald Trump was correct in setting up that thing where we're going to know who's coming in this country and what they're here for.
Right.
Yes.
Well, the president has executive power.
That's correct.
And that's all he was doing, is exercising it.
Yeah, I think the vote was 5-3.
And one other thing before I leave, because it just came to me, all these photos you're seeing on television in Texas about these children in incarceration, it happened back in 2016 during Obama's administration. And if you watch the television the other night, is that he separated children from their family back in 2014 and 2016, and now Donald Trump's catching the hell for it, which is, in my opinion, not correct.
It's because
you-
Donald Trump is the epitome of evil with these people.
How did these folks actually get across the border, all of these thousands?
A lot of the children who come across the border, Linda, they're coming across by themselves. Their families, their mothers and fathers aren't bringing them across. So we don't even know who their mother and fathers are. It's a real bad word. I don't know if you watched 60 Minutes last night on CBS, but the gentleman who was part of the Obama administration, Homeland Security, said that they were deporting thousands and thousands of people every year, all right, during his term, and they actually put children away from their families during his term. And so, and those pictures they did to nail Donald Trump were back in 2014, 2016 on the Obama administration, not Donald Trump. So you can see that the media are against anything that's going on with him. If he said tomorrow morning is Wednesday, they would say he was wrong.
They're terrified of him. They're just plain terrified of him. He's accomplishing things.
He's a businessman, and government is huge business. We need a businessman in that job, not somebody who's off in la-la land and, you know, just feels that they can do anything they want to do when they want to do it.
Well, I don't want to be political, but
why not?
our President Obama was a community organizer. He never he never had a business. He didn't do anything. He's a community organizer, and he got elected on certain things. Yes, all right. But this funny thing, still can't put in my mind. Why can't we find out more about him in his younger years? They sealed a lot of information that we don't know about. If we knew about what he was back in those days, things might be a little bit different in the United States of America as today.
Yeah.
I believe in transparency, so if you do something wrong, I should know about it.
Yeah,
but anyways,
we have to
I'll
move
get
on.
off.
We have to
Waiting to call in.
Yeah, we have to move on from Obama. We've got a strong president now, and let's just leave the past to past.
Support him. Well, and I firmly believe that Obama is still community organizing. He's just a couple of miles in his mansion, $1 million mansion, from the White House. And
Right.
I believe he's doing a lot of the organizing of these uprisings. Whoops. Bye, Dawn. So any reaction to any of that?
Well, I thought I did.
Yes, you did. You did.
Yeah. Well, let's move on from Obama. You know, he's history now, and let's learn from our mistakes, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I'm proud of our president. And
I didn't vote for him because I was sure what Ted Cruz had said was the truth. He was a New York liberal. And now I'm so glad that he's president because some of the things he's done has been great. I'm not a big fan of the tariffs. I don't know if they'll work eventually, but it does cost consumers in the short term.
well, you know, there has to be a balance somehow on that because
Right.
when we have such seriously big trade imbalances
Right.
where, you know, we're on the short end of the stick.
Yeah, right. Huh.
And there has to be a happy medium there somewhere.
See, that was one of the things I brought up when I ran for Congress before, is a plan that would level the playing field for American businesses.
Yeah, I mean, our businesses are critically important. Not only do they manufacture goods and provide services, but they provide jobs for our
Jobs, yeah.
country. And then tax dollars, not only from the company, but from the employees.
Yeah.
And that helps us to provide for the things that we need. Speaking of things that we need, a wall. We are not a country without a wall.
Right.
And
I
the
agree.
president is right on that.
Right.
And the liberals in the Congress will not give the money. They'll fund everything else under the sun. We have another caller. Is this Dawn again? Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I know Keith has a great plan for the medical and insurance for Vermont. What's his opinion on Phil Scott's take on the
I know what you're going to say. The individual mandate?
on the workman's compensation?
Oh, workers' comp?
Yeah, because I know you're a business owner, so I wanted to get a take on that.
I haven't seen his plan, actually. I know.
Well, he's reduced the rates.
Right.
and he's for the employers. But now now it's going to be 6 times harder for the employees to be taken care of. What would you do to help it change that or improve it?
Well, my goal is to send somebody to New Hampshire and look at their plan, because their plan is a great plan over there. And why not use a plan that's in effect, it's actually working?
Right.
Explain a little bit about the workman's comp. Tell the rest of the viewers what the issue is and why it needs to work. One of you, the caller, you want to?
So workman's comp is the employer pays a particular insurance company so that if one of their employees gets hurt on the job, they're covered. But the workman's comp protects the employer and not the employee.
The employees have to fight all the time to collect.
Do you understand what I'm saying, Mr. Stern?
It's supposed to protect the employee, but employees have to fight for their benefits all the time. My stepdaughter's going through it right now. She was making a delivery for us using our pickup. She had the tailgate down. She was reaching in to get something. Somebody backed into her and crushed her spine a little bit. Didn't bruised it, they said, but she's having all kinds of troubles with workers' comp, and apparently they said they're not going to cover her anymore, even though she's still in pain all the time. No,
That's exactly what I'm going through.
Yes, workers' comp is one of the worst things.
It's a joke.
It's a terrible program.
So there's a solution needed for that situation.
Oh, absolutely. And New Hampshire seems to have figured it out. The rates are really low. It keeps going down every year, and it seems to work fine there. So why don't we just go over to New Hampshire and say, what are you doing with workers' comp that we can copy?
Well, and I think that's a good philosophy, a good approach in general, because there are other states doing things very efficiently,
Absolutely.
effectively, things that work. Why not look at those from time to time and when there's a need?
Right.
Now, we're down to the last 2 minutes. Caller, did your question get answered?
It has. Thank you. I was going to ask another one, but you have time limits, so I understand.
Well, you'd have to make it really quick.
It would be a lengthy question. I was going to ask him his opinion on the judicial system with children.
I'll be at the library tomorrow afternoon.
No, Thursday.
What library?
Oh, Thursday.
Thursday
St.
from 4 to
Albans.
7, St. Albans Library.
Okay, thank
Stop
you.
by and say hi.
I shall.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thanks for
All
the
right,
call.
have a good night, guys.
You
Good
too.
night.
But one of the things I talk about with education is to get rid of the state board of education board. Yeah.
Yeah?
And instead have members of the local school committees meet and sit down quarterly and discuss ideas. What's working, what's not, what's the
Local
problems.
control.
Yeah. And one thing is bring in people from successful school programs, and show them how to do it. One of my things, the first thing is,
1 minute.
okay, my plan is to bring them in, and I'm so committed to that, I'll fund the first round of speakers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Keith, good luck.
Thank you.
And safe travels.
Absolutely.
And folks, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you for calling in. And I will see you again next week. I have guests lined up well into August, so we're moving along. So thanks you. Have a great week ahead. Stay cool, and I'll see you next week. Good night.